Okay. All right, so let's start with equations and inequalities. All right, always title your notes like that, the date we took it on. So, all right, well, the good part about this is that yesterday, or Friday rather, we wrote expressions, okay? And that was 1-3, and today is 1-4. We're writing equations and inequalities. So let's talk about the difference first of an expression versus an equation. Anybody know that? The difference between an expression and an equation, Caitlin? Yep. An equation has an equal sign, okay? And what does that mean when there's an equal sign? There's an answer, okay? It means I want you to solve for it. If I just take this expression, x plus 3, you can't do anything else with that until I say, hey, by the way, guys, x is 5. Oh, okay, now it's 5 plus 3, which is 8. But if I don't give you anything else, you're done. Okay, if I take that and make that into an equation, x plus 3, and we say equals 7, now that's a game changer. It means now I'm not going to give you x. That's your job to find what x is, correct? And then that's when we go back into of what we learned last year in 7th grade pre-algebra. We would do the opposite and subtract 3 from both sides, and x is going to give you 4, okay? So when there's an equal sign, it means solve. And if it's an expression, it doesn't mean solve, it means usually evaluate, okay? But you can only evaluate, obviously, if they give you the value of x or y or whatever it is, okay? And an inequality, let's kind of remember what from last year. I know we did inequalities. There are 4 different inequalities. Do you remember what they are? And if you kind of turn your head and pivot it around the room, they're everywhere. Josh?
Greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, and less than.
Great. Okay. So these are the 2 that most everybody coming into 7th or 8th grade is familiar with. And then these 2 are newer. Okay, it has an equal sign, kind of a half of an equal sign under it. All right, so let's just remind ourselves real quickly what this means. And let's always remember, because these 2 can be confusing. One direction that it's going always means the same thing. So which one is this? If you read it from left to right, just like you read words on a page, if I'm starting from left to right, you're either going to encounter a mouth or a nose, right? So obviously it's so trivial and so elementary, but it works, doesn't it? This is the mouth. This is the nose. You can even make it red and pretend like it's Rudolph, okay? So if you see the mouth first, greater than. Okay? If you see the nose first, less than. And it's you will learn, especially if you had me last year, I will come up with the craziest ways for you to help you remember things. So I want you to think about like your favorite dessert, like warm apple pie with vanilla ice cream or something. And if you see the mouth first, that's greater than, you want more of that. So greater than. Hi, Garrett. How are you? Okay, we just started notes, page 21. Okay, and then with the nose, I want you to think of like the nastiest smell, like rotten eggs or something. And you want to smell less than that, okay? So, good dessert, bad smells. So greater than or less than. All right, so go ahead and write that in your notes. Greater than. And it's THAN, not EN, less than, which then makes this greater than or equal to. We're going to talk about that. And this one is less than or equal to. Okay? So really, the only difference, let me just show you the difference between 1-3 and 1-4. 1-3 would say 6 less than, oh wow, x. I'm going to show you something that's going to be tricky. Because Friday, what did 6 less than x mean? It doesn't fail. Every year, 3 or 4 people will get this confused once we get to the section. Yeah. This should be x minus 6. So now less than not only means a minus sign, right? It also means a less than sign. So you kind of have to, like if I were to do this, -3. So looking at something like that, don't let it trick you because you see a less than and a greater than sign. Which one means minus? Obviously the less than. So 6 less than x would mean that, correct? And then is greater than means go ahead and write that one right there, -3. Here's what I don't want. And I'm not kidding you, there will be people that will do this. 6 less than x is greater than -3. Okay, I don't want that. We're looking for, and by the way, these signs are in place of an equal sign, okay? It's either equal to or not equal to, because we got to talk about what inequality means. The prefix in means not. So if you're incapable of doing something, it's unacceptable, on or in. So we're not looking for that. We're looking for that, okay? Because it always has to have an operation. And then obviously, I don't even know if they're having you solve them today. If they were, you would breeze through it anyway. X is greater than 3. Okay. So everybody good with that? So that's the difference. Without that there, it was Friday's. With that there, it's today's. Okay? So if I were to say to you, the difference of twice, guess what? I just wrote it. Look at my poster up there. Look above the door. See how it says 2 times twice? What does that mean? 2 twice. And I actually just went to spell it like that because I'm so used to twice. That would be total texting lingo, wouldn't it? The difference of twice, but that's a great way to show you that twice means multiply it by 2. A number k and 8 is 12. So when we teach how to write this, I teach it kind of like Spanish. You know, Ms. Meeks is teaching you to translate right now, right? So when you say hola, that equals a word in English. Or when you say me llamo, because that's probably what you started off with, is introducing yourself. Me llamo translates to my name is, right? Or I call myself, actually. So what we're going to do is read through this and translate it, because you know what? Math is a language too. Math is a language that uses numbers and symbols instead of words, okay? So the difference of, if you want to write it literally as you go, twice a number, k, and 8. Remember when it says difference, whatever's mentioned first has to go first. Now, is means what every single time? Equals 12. And I don't even think, like I said, we're going much past that today. Okay? Good so far on that? All right. And then basically what they're saying, checks possible solutions. Let me look at this. Yeah, I mean, I guess what you could do is, it's going to say check to see, check for a solution. This is example 2. Okay, so example 2 is going to ask you to check for a solution. And it's just going to give you the equation already written. And I'm going to say, can x equal 3? And you know, you got to be real careful how you throw around equal signs. Equal signs means this has got to be 3. And when you're checking, I kind of just put a little question mark above it because we're not saying it is right now in this equation. We're checking to see if it is. So, obviously, I'll do my open parentheses just to kind of say, put me here. And then you just have a little calculations to do. Don't forget that is a -2 times 3, which is a -6. And is this true? Is 2 equal to 2? Yes. So 3 is a solution for that equation. Are we good with that? Okay. Let's do this one. 5. Actually, let's do this one. 2z plus 5 is greater than 12. And I want to take the same thing. Can z, if z was 3. So I'm going to put 3 in there and see if this is a true statement. Is 2 times z plus 5 greater than 12? Is 6 plus 5 greater than 12? Is 11 greater than 12? No, it's not. Now, in order to be able to answer that question, you have to know what that sign means, right? Okay? So, no, this is not true. What if I had it worked out and it was that? Would that check? Is 11 greater than or equal to 11? Okay, I need you to understand that symbol. That little line right there is a game changer. Okay? It means it doesn't have to be greater than 11 as long as it's greater than or equal to 11. That's how that symbol works. You should remember that from last year. Okay? Example 3 is going to ask you to use some mental math. Okay, so x plus 4 equals 10. And it's going to ask you to think, this is the think column. And equations are pretty much just like riddles, aren't they? So this equation B, or this riddle rather, I'm thinking of a number. I add 4 to that number, and my result is 10. What number am I? That's really what an equation is. So if it's asking you to think, what number plus 4 equals, we'll use the correct word, not just is, 10. And when you think about it like that, I know that you are very procedural kids, so I know what you're going to do. You're going to picture just subtracting 4 from both sides, right? You know, and the whole point of mental math, you know, is to be able to do it without paper and pencil. But if you have to picture 10 minus 4, make that 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. That works. So they're just keeping you on your toes a little bit and keeping your mind going. I'm thinking of a number. I divide that number by 5, and my quotient is 9. What number am I? I started with a number. I divided it into 5 piles, and I got 9 in each pile. That must mean the number I started with is bigger than both of them, Charlotte. 45. Okay? So let's keep our brains sharp with some mental math. Good? Okay. Now let's get into a few word problems. You ready? Because we are going to do word problems on this. This is important. Okay, we're at example 4 on page 23 if you're following along. Okay, mountain biking. Last time, you and 3 friends went to a bike park. So you and 3 friends. How many people were there? Okay, 4 people. Just because you see the number 3, don't let that trick you, okay? You had a coupon for $10 off. Okay? This was all be written in your book, and obviously if you have a problem like this, it's a paragraph. You don't have to copy the paragraph, but what I do suggest you do is write down on your paper in your workspace like all the important information and just kind of organize it. So this is what I know so far. But I also know that you paid a total of $17 for 4 tickets. Okay? All right. So, remember that phrase verbal model? I want to know how much does each person pay? And then you need to write the equation. All right. After the $10 coupon was used. Okay, good question. Verbal model, what we learned Friday, is really going to help in this situation because basically what we're going to do is we're going to make R the regular price before the coupon, right? So wouldn't I take that regular price and do what? What does the coupon mean? Coupon means you get to pay less, right? So how much was the coupon worth? $10. Amount. I'm not going to say price of coupon, sorry. We'll say the amount of coupon. And what will that give me? If I take the regular price subtract the coupon amount. That will give me the amount that was paid. Okay? So, make sure you understand this. There's you and 3 friends. One of you has a $10 coupon. You walk up to this desk at this bike place. You give them the coupon, and you also give them $17. Okay, so basically, what's the regular price? R. We don't know that. Okay? Write an equation minus the coupon. And how much did each of you pay? I'm sorry, not each. What was the total price that you guys paid? And then we add 10 to both sides. And that gives me R equals 27. Okay? So what does that mean, though? Does that mean each person paid 27? No. That's how much it costs for 4 people good before the coupon, right? So what would I need to do? This is $27 divided by 4 people good. And that would give me per person. Okay? You want to check that? If you want to check that, let's take 675, multiply it by 4. That gives me 27. Subtract your $10 coupon, and there's the $17 that you paid the people behind the counter. Okay? Verbal model, I think, really helped in this case. All right? Okay, now, before we do this, we need to go over a few ways of inequalities. So, let's say I were to say to, well, if you're going down the street, there's speed limits, right? What's the speed limit on, like, a residential area? Cars cannot drive any faster than what in a neighborhood? 25 miles an hour. Okay? Write an inequality, meaning using one of these symbols to show that scenario. We'll use the S for your speed. We'll use the cursive S because it would look like a 5. So if your speed limit, what does a limit mean? It means you can't go over, but you can go under. Which one of these means you can't go over, but you can go under? And here's my question to you. Can I go exactly 25? Yeah. So which one of those is going to match that situation, Josh? Good. So your speed has to be less than or equal to 25, okay? Do you ever see, like, what was I going to say? If you have, when you go to Cedar Point, okay? If you go to Cedar Point, it says you must be at least 48 inches to ride the rides, right? Remember, like, standing on your tippy toes or putting, like, Kleenex in your shoes to make you taller just you wanted to ride that ride so bad? So, if we let h equal your height, write me an inequality using one of these to show what you must be to ride that ride. Who's got it? Meaning, and here's what's really tricky. When you hear at least, people see the word least, they think it sounds like less than, and they want to use a less than. And does that make sense? Your height has to be less than 48? No, it needs to be greater than. The very lowest it can be is 48. Another question. Can you ride that ride if you are 48 inches? Yes. So, Morgan, tell me what we got.
It has to be greater than or equal to.
Great. Greater than or equal to 48. Got it? Okay. Let's say my daughter's having a sleepover, and she wants to invite all these little girls for her birthday party. If I were to say to her, no more than 8 girls spending the night, because I'm going to lose my mind if you do. So no more than 8 girls can spend the night. Write me an expression using G for girls. No more than. Because if it can't be more than, Dominic, it has to be Good. Less than or equal to. Okay? All right. Can you think of an example where it wouldn't be or equal to? Anybody think of one? Could I say... Do you think that's the same thing? Do you think these two could equal each other, kind of? Okay. You could say yes and you could say no. What are we talking about? Girls, right? Because here's my question. This means there's a whole lot of numbers that are less than 9 but greater than 8, right? They're not whole numbers. If this is 8 and this is 9, there's a whole infinite set of numbers. But because we're talking about people, these are pretty, I'm hoping, insignificant numbers. So in the context of this problem, this would be okay. If I say you need at least $8 to get in, okay, or you can't have any more than a certain amount. Do you see where these numbers then? So this could technically mean the same thing, okay? Depending on, but if you're talking about money, then obviously that would work. Okay, last example. Are you ready? All right. Basketball player scored 351 points last year in one season. The player played in 18 games. This guy's a beast. Okay? Will an average of 20 points per game be enough to beat last year's total? So this is last season. Okay? Be enough to beat his last year's record. Okay? Yeah. Oh, we're going to do our verbal model first. So, I want to take the number of games. I know what you're thinking. Okay? You're thinking you have to do what? 18 times 20? Okay, but we're gonna just keep that right there for a minute. Let's take the number of games that he played and multiply it by what? How many points he scored. How many points did he score per game? We don't know, do we? All I know is he scored this many total and played this many games. I know all I would need to do is divide these two to get an answer, right? So if P equals the points per game on average, now think about which symbol what symbol would go here. We're not talking an equal sign. He needs to, this is a great example. When you race your time or something from last year, do you ever wish to tie your record? Like cross country meets. Okay, we just ran our first one Saturday. Okay, our next one is tomorrow. I'm going to ask my kids to look at their times from Saturday and say, you want to beat your record. And each time get better and better. So which one of these symbols right here would you want to do? Do you want to get less than your time? Yes. Yeah. You want to, well, in terms of score, yes. So, but what don't you want? You don't want the line underneath it, because that would mean you tie it, because you don't want it to be equal to. So take the number of games he played, multiply it by P, and that score needs to be greater than the 351. Because if it's equal to it, it means he tied his record, and we don't want that. So how many games did he play? 18. Times the number of points per game. And we want that to be greater than, not or equal to, 351. Okay? So then the question is, if I put 20 right there, because that's what the question was asking, 18 times 20 equals 360. Is that greater than 351? Yes. So this year, if he scores 20 points per game, is that going to beat his record from last year? Yes. And how could you figure out his average record from last year? Yep. He scored about 19 and a half points last year. Yeah. It's just an average when you average like that. Okay. Does this make sense? All right. So we are going to do problems on page 24. And I'm going to have you do... now, listen. It says just write the equation or inequality. It doesn't say you have to solve them. All right? Let's go, but then some. For right now, let's do 1 through mental math. We're going to do odds, but I want to take you up through some of these word problems. 43, I'll just keep you doing odds though. Okay? The set of directions changes every couple problems, so make sure you are reading the directions. We learned that from our slot quizzes yesterday, didn't we? Yes. No, absolutely not. You do not have to copy the problem. Okay? Yeah. Yep. Yep. Now, I want you to look at I'll do number 10 with you. So look at number 10 real quick. It says the product of 8 and a number k. How do I write that? 8k. And then it says is greater than, which means that. Oh, this one's a little tricky. 4 and no more than 16. Oh, all right. We'll talk about this one here. It says the product of 8 and k is greater than, but it's no more than 16, which means we're going to have 8k in the middle with 2 symbols on either side of it. Remember how I said you can't have that? That's if you're solving an equation. But take a look at number 9 real quick, and we'll go from there.